Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the 20th edition of Talmbout Rasslin, right here on the Black Fitness Network. I am your host, as always, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And for 20 episodes, we have been here week after week, giving a couple of weeks that I missed, giving you wrestling conversation. I won't say like you've never heard anywhere else, but you definitely hadn't heard it from me anywhere else, right? So welcome. Thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for 20 episodes, and we're going to keep on rolling. This is also the final episode of 2025, so you can consider this the New Year's Eve episode, the goodbye to 25, the best of. We're going to have a great time today. This may be one of those super shows. I'm going to be honest, because there's a lot of stuff we got to get over. As you can see, we are celebrating the end of 2025, and it says goodbye 2025, but you might as well say good riddance, at least in a real world sense. But in the world of professional wrestling, it's actually been a really great year. Even for that other company who I don't really support, they've had some ups and some downs. But of course, AEW has been fantastic. TNA actually has been fantastic too, even despite how I feel about the partnership. So this episode, we are actually going to cover some of the best of 2025. Now, full transparency, it's definitely going to highly lean in the AEW direction because that's most of what I've been watching. But I also don't have many things from WWE to really compare them to. So it's kind of a reason they swept a lot of awards. Unless you're an E-drone and you're just gonna say that for the sake of saying it, it's kind of not. It's kind of self-explanatory. AEW has had a banner year, despite what the ratings might say, despite what any of WWE's billion-dollar deals might say. AEW has had a banner year, so we are definitely going to cover the best of awards for the year, as well as I'm going to give my predictions because later on today will be World's End. I'm going to give my predictions for World's End. Hopefully I get these in and I can get this uploaded before the show. But sometimes it's tricky. But we're going to try it, especially with a new overlay and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to try it and see. But before we do all of that, as always, again, I got to thank everybody for making the Black Fitness Network what it has been, making the Talmbout Wrestling podcast what it has been for the entirety of 2025. I said, this year is the year I'm going to just start my journey, my podcasting journey. If I always wanted to do it, thought I needed to have a co-host, wasn't sure about how to get started, where to start, what to do. Finally, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Here we are for 20 episodes strong. A lot of momentum rolling into 2026. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here to watch the growth. Thank everybody for tuning in. If you've tuned in, most importantly, you see this down at the bottom. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you comment. Make sure you leave a rating. Make sure you follow whatever it is that you can do to engage with the Talmbout Wrestling podcast and the Black Fitness Network. Make sure you do that. We're also available here on Substack, on YouTube, and on Spotify. So make sure you follow across all those platforms or any one of those platforms you choose to choose. Okay. That is what we need in order to grow this platform more and more and more. I definitely want to grow. 2026, I'm going to set a goal. I said I was going to do by the end of the show. I'm going to set my goal, but definitely going to set a goal to really put into, I guess you say, perspective where I want to go in 2026. I really want to grow this platform leaps and bounds 2026. So I can only do that with your help. So make sure, again, like, share, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, leave a rating, tell your friends, tell your foes, tell your family, tell a wrestler. That's definitely a big thing. that I want to do 2026. But we'll get to that later. So, next order of business, as we always do every week, you all see the Happy New Year glasses. I'm out here very festive. All right, this is the New Year. You see this wonderful New Year's layout. But the thing that I know you're here for is the shirt of the day. Little private party energy, right? That looks good. That looks good. Shout out to Private Party, by the way. There's no significance to this shirt today. I just put it on. Uh, this is my first AEW shirt that I bought, though. I was very high on Private Party. Still am, actually, very high on Private Party before they, when they were first, when they beat the Bucks, when they were, advancing through the tournament. And I always thought they had a lot of potential as a team. They have since won the tag team titles and then lost them and then disappeared from TV. Apparently, MVP told them to bulk up, whatever. And apparently, they have. I've seen there's been video of them on like some indie shows, but they haven't been back on AEW TV. So hopefully in 2026 we're going to get them back on TV as well. I would love to make them like the tag team of the year type thing, right? But can't do that. They had a great year for the little bit of time they were on TV. Like they won the tag team titles finally, and then they disappeared. So hopefully we can get them back on TV. We can get some good things popping, right? But moving on from that, let's get to business today. Today we are going to cover the AEW. I don't even call them AEW. I'll just say the Talmbout Rasslin best of for 2025. All right. Again, it's going to be a little. You're going to get these, and these, this is me. Influenced by some things I've seen, true enough, because I had to get some perspective from some people and some things. But you've seen the Sports Illustrated. You've probably seen it's that time of year. Everybody's gonna start putting out their list. I'm no different. I'm putting out my list, right? So first and foremost, we got to start with the male wrestler of the year. I think that's a really good place to start. And it's really hard to put this on anybody other than Hangman Adam Page. Listen, he's got a couple of other awards, at least one more that I gave. Hangman's year has been a roller coaster, but a good roller coaster, right? You can think what you think, feel how you feel, but you cannot deny his year has been a great one, right? Culminating in him winning the world title at All In Texas in a brutal Texas death match. Absolutely insane. He's had banger matches. The Will Ospreay match at Double or Nothing was amazing. And pretty much everything leading up to was great. Even him losing the title, I'm trying to talk about it without going into what the other award I have for him is, because I think they're both kind of connected. So I'll come back to it. But we're going to say Hangman Adam Page, Wrestler of the Year. Hell of a year for Hangman. That main character energy still a thing, very much a thing. We're gonna move forward because I got more for Hangman, but I'll come back to it later. Women's Wrestler of the Year, there's no doubt, though there is a case that could be made. All right, I'll give what I say is like the runner-up. Toni Storm has had a great year. as well. Um, Big win over Mercedes at All In. Uh, I would absolutely make her a character of the year because there's no other character in AEW like Tony Storm. There's no other character like Tony Storm in wrestling, period. And I say all the time that there was no, if she stayed in WWE, there's no way she would have channeled this. There's no way they would know what to do with it. It would not work the same way. Maybe in NXT, maybe. And I feel like even that's kind of a throwback to the older NXT for that to work the way it does. Um, Started off the year with the Hollywood ending match with actually started off the year winning the title back at Grand Slam in Australia, which was huge. And then following that up with the Hollywood ending with uh I want to call her by her I want to call her Blake Monroe. Why is that a thing? Mariah May. Um, had a great match with her, which should have ended the pay-per-view, but that's neither here nor there. And went on to have a incredible rest of the year until she lost the title at Forbidden Door. I believe that's when that was. So spent most of the year as champion until losing it, and has really cemented herself as just one of the top women stars in the company. However, have to give Women's Wrestler of the Year to Mercedes Moné. If for no other reason, because there's so many people that hate her, that I do it just to piss you off. Okay? Because listen, let me tell you, Mercedes hate will not be tolerated. All right? The Mercedes hate, first of all, is silly. I saw somebody say like Mercedes isn't as good as she thinks she is. What? I don't even understand that statement. That statement cannot factually be made. It literally has to be made just because you feel how you feel about it. All right. Mercedes is everything she says she is, and truth be told, probably more. Each of these title wins. See, here's the thing: a lot of people think, "Oh, she's booking herself to win all these titles." Well, if you're an indie company, if she were to say, "Hey, I'm not coming in unless I'm winning your world title," then as a company, you have the choice to say, you know what, never mind, we're good, and go in a different direction. I'm pretty sure there probably are companies who've done that if that were the case. But it also stands to reason that given what the gimmick is, given that she's this belt collector and that's her thing now, it makes complete sense that if she's coming into your company, that she's going to challenge your champion and she's going to win. That's why you bring her in at this point. And I don't even understand why anyone would think that would be there. So what, you think she's just going to lose to some indie company's champion, but hadn't lost on AEW TV for real to anybody? Make that make sense? It doesn't bury your champion. It doesn't bury your championship. It only increases the prestige. If you're an indie company and you can say, or whatever, and you can say one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, a pioneer of sorts in WWE, and now on the indies tearing it up, has won our women's championship against a list of names who probably nobody else would know on a grand scale. You don't see it as an upgrade, whatever. Mercedes hate is forced as hell. Mercedes has had a magnificent year, of course, title after title after title after title after title, big match after big match, has eked out some wonderful victories, but has failed to win the big one. The main one, she wants the AEW Women's Championship. She has not been able to secure that, which is what I have said this entire time, that she will not win that title until she loses all the others. And we have started to see the slide. She lost the ROH Women's Championship. That was the first one. And now they're coming very closely after losing another world title shot against Stat, who she has beaten twice. So she lost that match. She goes up against Red Velvet, loses that match. She loses in the tag team tournament. And then she lost her Rev Pro Women's Championship to Windsor. The slide has begun. She's probably going to lose tonight, but I'll get to that in my predictions. And going into 2026, the spiral has begun. And I love it. Storytelling. Who says AEW doesn't tell long-term stories? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Mercedes Moné for Woman of the Year. Hands down. There are probably some WWE counterparts. I could have given it to Naomi if she didn't. I mean, they're not even, I don't want to, she didn't get injured. She's pregnant. And in that, I think that's a blessing in itself, right? She was having an amazing year. That heel turn has gotten better and better. She won Money in the Bank. She won the women's championship and was cooking until she got pregnant. And that's and it's gonna get to my, I'll come to that in a minute. But I think that's the only reason. She was definitely on the trajectory to be in the conversation. I probably still would have gave it to Mercedes, but I would have thought that Naomi would have had a much stronger case had she been able to close out the year on the trajectory that she was on already. There's some other contenders there. You could say maybe Jade is having a pretty good year. She is the women's champion, so that's good with that too. But you know, I haven't really watched SmackDown. I've kind of seen what she's been doing. I'm not sure how it's being received, or even how it's playing out because I hadn't really watched like how it plays out. So I don't know what the character work is, but it does seem to fit her more than what she was doing as a babyface. And I think everybody knew that. I think she's more natural, perhaps, in that heel role. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not going to give it to her this year. We'll see where 2026 goes and how she evolves from there. But that's the case against her. Stephanie Kerr, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley. Stephanie Kerr has had a great year, an amazing year. I think she won was it this year that she won the North American title and the NXT Women's title and the WWE or the World Women's World title, whatever on Raw. She's had all three of those titles this year. I'm certain at least two of them, but I think it's all three. That's banner, right? But it's also kind of weird and off about the push itself. I'm not really sure. No. Moving along. You know what? I'm gonna skip around a little bit. Say my breakthrough wrestler of the year. Um, Stephanie Vaquer is definitely, speaking of Naomi Vaquer, or however you say it, Ashley said, definitely is on this list. There were people who because I had to go through a list on this one because I wasn't really sure. I know who I think it may be, but when I saw the list, I said, this is a tougher, this is a tougher category than I thought. So the nominees for Breakthrough Wrestler of the Year are Kyle Fletcher, Stephanie Vaquer, Obafemi, Javon Evans, Bandito, Roxanne Perez, Dominic Mysterio, Lyra Valkyria, and Konosuke Takeshita. This felt like a no-brainer, and it may still be, but I'm going to kind of process of elimination it a little bit, okay? Taking Lyra out because I don't know if I thought she was the breakthrough wrestler of the year. She had a good year. I don't know if I think she was the breakthrough. Um, she's largely kind of been um, displaced a little bit. She's kind of now like doing this thing with Bailey. Um, After the feud with Becky, she did at one point. She was the women's intercontinental title. She won that this year, first ever women's intercontinental champion, which is great. She won the women's world tag with the women's tag with Becky. Those titles are snake bitten, so it's a flex, but it ain't the flex you think it is. Um, so let's get Lara out of there. Roxanne, she's had a good year. She won the women's tag titles, and they lost them. Um, she's had a good year, but I don't know if it's like a breakthrough year. So let's take her out. Takeshita, great year, but I don't think this was his breakthrough year. I believe last year was his breakthrough year. Maybe even 23, but definitely 24. Yeah, last year feels like more of the breakthrough year than this year did. He had a great year. He continued. It felt this year felt like a continuing of the momentum, but last year felt like the year. Whatever year it was that he beat Kenny Omega those two times, and yeah, I think that was last year. I think that is where, um, that is where Takeshita broke through. This year was a continuing of that momentum. He's now the IWGP champion. He's in the finals of the Continental Classic. I don't know if he wins it. Um, and there was some fantasy booking ideas I had, but we're not going to do that. Which makes sense in the long run of things, but go figure. Um, so can't put him there. We're going to knock him out. What else we got? Bandito. Bandito had a tremendous year as well. Really came back on the scene, showing what he's about. If there is a breakthrough year, this kind of would be it. But I think there's still more to see. He's the ROH champion. He was the tag team champion with Brodito for a good, I won't say a good portion of the year, but a latter piece of the year. Oh, excuse me. Um, can't really give it to him just yet. You'll see why, I think. Javon Evans has been having a banner year. Put the world on notice that he is a force to be reckoned with. He has some really big matches. He hadn't been called up to the main roster, but he's made some main roster appearances, and they have seemed to have been very well received by the people. But I don't know if that means this is like his breakthrough year. And even if it is, put it up against some of these other people, not really sure. Oba Femi, the two-time world heavyweight champion. He did win that this year. Yeah, he did. Former North American champion, two-time NXT champion. Just faced Cody Rhodes on main event. Easily compared to like the Brock Lesnar's and the Goldbergs and that type of thing. The aura's off the chain. I cannot wait to see him do bigger things, and I'm also terrified of what they're going to do when they get the opportunity, because we know how they get down. So go figure. This has definitely been. Here's my thing. I don't consider it a breakout or breakthrough until you're on main roster and doing those big things on the main roster. Like you got to have that as well. So again, Javon has had a few matches on main roster, been very well received, but I don't know if it's like a breakthrough just yet. Same thing with Oba. Though Oba, like, if I were doing, and this is something I was gonna do, but I opted against it. If there were like a list of people to watch in 2026, which I guess I could say that is a thing too, I absolutely will put Oba on there, and I absolutely will put Javon on there. Bandito as well. Um, but this year, not so much. Of course, like I said, Stephanie Vaquer, she has had an amazing year as well, but it feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel, I don't know. And I don't know if that's because I'm not watching this regularly, but it just doesn't feel like it's breakthrough for sure, but it doesn't feel like she's becoming something huge, right? Just not there. Dominic Mysterio's on this list as well. You feel like he's being kind of poised for a big babyface turn. He's had some big wins this year. Won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Won the AAA title later in the year. Lost the title to John Cena. Lost the Intercontinental title to John Cena. And then won it back from John Cena at Survivor Series. Um, doing big things. He's going to go into 2026 as a double champion. Can't take that away from him. So big things happening for Dominic Mysterio. I am still not convinced he is. And then, is this his breakthrough year? Maybe. But has he broken through before? Like, he was already kind of a big, as a wrestler, and not as a character or as a something to be taken somewhat serious. That you're now a 2-time Intercontinental Champion and you held that title a majority of the year. That does say something. That does say something. Um, but where that goes, I'm not really sure. And that leaves, I don't even know if I said it, but Kyle Fletcher, I think, is my breakthrough wrestler of the year. Last year was the building of that momentum, but this year, through the roof. Banger after banger on pay-per-view after pay-per-view. On Dynamite, on Collision, TNT champion in the semifinals for the Continental Classic. Bangers throughout the Continental Classic. Several like 5-star match of the year candidates. Kyle Fletcher has been on fire. And when you look at him in the ring, challenged Hangman for the world title, came up short, still with TNT champion. Bangers as TNT champion. He has had amazing matches all year. And when you look at him, you say, that dude is going to be the world champion at some point. It's not a matter of if. It's not a matter of like, oh, if they book it right, or he will be a world champion. Possibly by the end of 2026. I would say definitely in 2027. If he's not, I don't know what we're doing. It's that serious. It's that sincere that I think Kyle Fletcher is the next guy. Period. Period. He's going to be a world champion. And I don't know if I saw that coming, despite what I say all the time about I fell asleep on the Kyle Fletcher match, because I did. But it's not because his matches are boring. I'm old and I get sleepy. But Kyle Fletcher is absolutely the breakout wrestler of the year. The case could be made that he was a male wrestler of the year, if we're being honest. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. Tag team of the year. This going to be a little controversial. Some people said FTR. And they did have a pretty decent year. They turned heel. They turned on Cope. They had a few. Their heel turn had been solidified. Adding Stoke to the formula has absolutely been great. Stoke is just gold. Period. And it has been great to see them work. They finally won the World Tag Team Championships later in the year. Again, seeing their heel work has been great. They have been absolutely fantastic. But I, for Tag Team of the Year, went with Brodito. Bandito, Brody King came together maybe middle of the year, maybe even past the midway point in the year. got together and gelled immediately and became one of the top became tag team champions and very convincing tag team champions. Again, having bangers defending those titles until they lost them to FTR. I don't know if it's fair to say that they are the tag team of the year and they were only a tag team for like a few months, maybe 3 or 4 months towards the end of the year. They just lost them, I think, at Full Gear, if I'm not mistaken. And they had won them at Forbidden Door, which was like in August. So we're talking August to November, August, September, October. Yeah, so like a good 4 month reign of the 12 months. But I mean, the other option was like the Hurt Syndicate because they did have them for a while. But I don't know if that tag run was kind of interesting, but it didn't feel the way the Brodito's run did. But there's a case to be made if you want to say Hurt Syndicate for the fact that they seem to have been champions for much longer. I know they were champions in May for Double or Nothing, and they probably won them before that. Whenever they debuted, actually, it wasn't long after that. So let's say I know they were champs in May. So they had a nice reign. I'm giving it to Brodito. I think they were the um, the team of the year. The way they gelled, the matches they had, um, absolutely became a highlight. One of the best teams in the division. And the fact that I hope we're not done, even though we seem to be kind of moving not so much away from them as a team or them having an association, but I do want to see them get back to the tag team title hunt. Um, AEW's tag team division is in a really strange place because they do have the teams and they give the teams the opportunities, but it's really strange. It's just kind of a really strange position for them to be in right now. But I do think they'll be fine ultimately. Let's see, we covered 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we got 5 more categories to go. I am going to. How about this? We're gonna go heel turn of the year. I just mentioned earlier, um, Naomi. The other nominees here are John Cena's heel turn and the Seth Rollins heel turn. Now there are a couple more. There's Jay Cargill. There's Danny Garcia. There's let's see who else turned heel this year. There's some more that I'm sure I can't remember. So process elimination again. Seth Rollins, the heel turn at WrestleMania, where a lot of people saw it coming. I saw the theory. I thought it was a stretch. And then it happened. And the swerve was very well done. Did not see that coming at all. Don't know why. So when it happened, I'm like, oh, they called it right. I did not. I don't even know if I had a prediction. Even if I thought he would win, still didn't see that coming. Did not see it coming. But did I have a podcast going then? I feel like I did, but maybe not. But no, I didn't. I did not. Didn't start the podcast till after. So maybe SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam was the first weekend that I did the podcast. So I didn't have a podcast at WrestleMania, but not sure if I predicted it. I probably didn't even have any predictions for that. Go figure. However, I think after that, and then he started the Vision, which is supposed to be hit. Finally he has his faction. You know, and I'm not one of the people who says it didn't work or wasn't working. I don't think they had a. People kind of said this that like they didn't have like a mission or they didn't have like a reason. Everything else, if you think about it, the two people around him, Roman had the bloodline. Well, that made sense. They were all his family. Um, Dean slash John Moxley has the Death Riders and the BCC. Kind of made sense, right? Even when it didn't make sense, it made sense. The Vision never really jived. It worked, but you didn't understand what was really happening per se. And you still really don't. It's like, is Heyman the guy? Is Heyman the leader? Was Seth the leader? It doesn't. It's like it works, but we're not really sure what's happening here. So the heel turn itself, great. Afterwards, yeah. And if we're talking about that, then we got to talk John Cena. Maybe what should have been one of the biggest heel turns in wrestling history. And depending on who you ask, maybe it is, right? But is it though? Is it? The heel turn was great. The moment was great. Didn't see that coming. Um, well, you know what? I kind of did. If you know wrestling, if you watch wrestling enough and you kind of know the framing of things and certain things happening, then it does make sense, right? Um, the fact that John Cena, even though he won, and even though we were closing with the Cody segment with The Rock and I Want Your Soul and all that nonsense, and for some reason Travis Scott was there, John Cena was still there, Cody was still there. It's like something's going to happen here. And the thing that makes more sense to happen would be, even though either Cody was going to turn heel or John Cena. I think that's where we kind of stood then, and it turned out being John Cena. It was like, oh, they did it. They did the thing. The heel turn itself, big moment. It's all about the follow through. And all of the follow through, I won't say it was trash. I will not say it was trash. It was not what we hoped and expected it to be. That's what I'll say. Um, I wanted a different look. I wanted a different John Cena. We got pretty much the same John Cena, but just mean. The music was the same. They had already started working on all these shirts for every different town, so that wasn't going to change. So we didn't get anything. It was just regular John Cena. Just mean. So much so that like he just randomly turned babyface a week before SummerSlam, and then was like, "Yeah, guess what? I'm back." So that left a little to be desired, which leaves us with Naomi. Naomi's heel turn was just okay. From the so I don't know really when you want to say the heel turn actually happened. Maybe it was like the SmackDown after Elimination Chamber, or maybe whenever it was that Bianca confronted her about it, which I think it was either that next SmackDown or the one after. If that was the actual heel turn, because then he had to confirm it, right? So the Elimination Chamber moment was Jade comes out, attacks Naomi. We don't know what's going on. We're like, what is happening? And then she doesn't say anything, so we all assume it was Naomi. I was hoping they swerved and went a different way, but they went with the thing that I guess you say made sense. That it was Naomi and Jay's the baby face and yada yada yada. Naomi turned into that character and made this switch into like this crazed, like obsessive, like the entire character personality shift was perfect. And I think really worked because of some of her real life feelings as well. Like there was like she would have these moments of like the fans appreciating her and she'll like kind of break down and get emotional and they have to like snap back into like, no, no, you don't get to cheer me. No. You know, y'all better shut up. You know, like and from the black perspective, she pulled so much from the culture. Because if you see her, like some of the stuff she would do or say or act or way she would talk, very different from the way she would talk before. She really like just kind of leaning into being. I hate to say it this way, but like I'm not going to say that. She leaned into being a little more, uh, almost hood, and the ways I can say this like relatable in a black way. Not that she wasn't before, but a different kind of way, right? And heel turn was going. I mean, and so the heel turn itself, whatever you want to say, it happened, was great. It's the follow through that made it even better. That the entire character change. We get this proceed with caution thing. The look is completely different. Like I said, the personality, the promos, everything else completely different, and it all worked. Naomi is my the heel turn of the year. However, in saying that, Big Jim may be the heel of the year. Big Jim might be the heel of the year because you took that away from us, Jim. You took it away from us. And I don't like it. But congratulations to y'all. But I don't like it. I don't like it, Jim. Don't like it. But Naomi absolutely was. I won't say heel of the year, but the heel turn of the year, absolutely. So now we're gonna get into a little bit of. I'm gonna leave that one out. Let's go with our match of the year. Now this one also gonna be. I won't say controversial, but I haven't seen anybody name this one, and I think that makes it a sleeper hit for me. A couple of things I've seen is the WrestleMania match, Rhea, Bianca, and Io, the triple threat at WrestleMania. Absolutely was the match of that weekend because the rest of that weekend was very mid, if I'm being honest. There's nothing that really stands out. The two things that stand out from that weekend are the ending of night one with Seth and Paul Heyman and all of that, and then this triple threat match. And the only reason I can't put this in my match of the year is because I hate the outcome on so many different levels. We took Bianca's streak, which was something that you could have marketed, but it seemed that they never cared about it. We took Bianca's streak, and then at best, I want to say she took the pin too. So at best, if she didn't take the pin, at least she could say she'd never been pinned at Mania. But she took that, and in the process, broke her hand. Has not wrestled anymore this year. So you deprived me of the one thing that probably would have kept me watching, or at least a little more intrigued. No Bianca. And no Bianca on my TV is a travesty. Y'all know how I feel about Bianca. No, she's not back. She's off the show, but you can't see it. Y'all know how I feel about Bianca. So, not a fan of what happened there. Another one is at All In, the Texas Death Match between Hangman and Mox. Definitely could make a case there because that was brutality. And the moment of him winning was very like just the eruption. But I'll come back to that because that's not my match of the year. Another case that I've seen again, Hangman versus Will Ospreay, which I watched again last night, and it is absolutely a very great match. But for me, let me give a little bit of bias. Let me get a little bit of a warning. I'm a little biased because I was at this show and I had a wonderful time. Again, one of the best live events I've ever been to, and I've been to 3 WrestleManias, and this was by far, with the exception of one match, this was by far the best, one of the best wrestling shows I've ever been to. The match that did it for me for the year. I haven't seen anything that, again, I was live. So, grain of salt. Young Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay was a masterpiece from the entrances to the final bell. Like, I marked out for JoJo. Was it JoJo? Yeah. For JoJo coming out and singing Ain't Nobody while the Fireflies were behind her, and then Swerve coming out. Like, I'm getting chills saying it out loud. Because, and the thing, I don't think, the only thing that took away from it, and this is from me being there, that it didn't seem like anybody really grasped what was happening. And there were pieces of it I didn't even get until after the fact. Like the Fireflies thing, I didn't connect that until after when I watched it on a video. So so that was in there. Again, the fact that it ain't nobody, I think people didn't catch what was happening. Huge. Because people have always talked about him coming out to Ain't Nobody. At the biggest show of the year. It was a WrestleMania-esque entrance. Absolutely. Here for that. Will Ospreay and then another Assassin's Creed entrance. Absolutely huge. The Bucks and their founding fathers thing where they kind of sailed around the arena or whatever was hilarious. And then the match itself was crazy. The false finishes, the emotion, the ending, everything was like AEW doesn't tell stories. Absolutely told a story in that match. And then the fallout. Because even though Swerve and Ospreay were both hurt for a majority of this year, Swerve just came back. Ospreay's still out. Even though they've been hurt since, or they've been, sporadic since then, what a way to go out. And then the fallout from the Bucks, which has led to like a redemption story for them as well, from being the broke Bucks to basically now they're back, which they may be hurt, but we'll see how that goes. Just perfection. The rest of that night was great as well. But that match, and there were other matches that I think they were great. And again, maybe it's because I was there live, but for what I like in wrestling, that match was everything that I could have wanted. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 15 out, 20 out of 10. That match was perfect. And include like one of my favorite wrestlers, obviously. And one of the most impressive people. And the Bucks are the most impressive tag team. It had all of the pieces to be exactly what it was. Fantastic. And in saying that, I'm going to continue with my bias, because my show of the year is All in Texas. Listen, Double or Nothing, great show. Watched it again last night. That Anarchy in the Arena alone may be the most fun thing I've seen all year. Maybe the best thing I've seen all year. Not best thing, but definitely the most fun. Like, I love those types of matches, that type of just insanity. People everywhere, plunder, craziness. Love it. Just like I love war games, the violence, the blood. Give me all of that. Give me all of it. And in terms of that, Anarchy in the Arena was absolutely that. That being said, again, I'm biased because I was there. All in Texas was the show of the year for me. Period. Period. As I mentioned, the tag team match between Swerve and Ospreay versus the Bucks, easily my match of the year. The Texas Death Match. Like I said, I love the nonsense. I love the violence. It was uncomfortably so, but I loved it. Um, I should do a insane match of the year thing because they're like three: Anarchy in the Arena, Blood and Guts, and the cage match from Forbidden Door would be like the top three. All three of those were insane and fun. Loved it, but All In had it all. Mercedes versus Tony, another great match. Love that. The Casino Gauntlets for the men and the women, both really good matches. Omega and Okada, got to see that in person. And even if it didn't like stand up to the other two, because they're two different people in two different places, basically, um, still was amazing to see live. Kenny Omega's entrance again, amazing live. Um, even though we're doing really weird things with that title that came out of that, but whatever. Um, you had the moment. This isn't necessarily a plus, but Dustin Rhodes winning the TNT title after uh, Adam Cole relinquished it and maybe retired. Not really sure. Um, we had just so many moments. Her Syndicate. Did they have a tag match? I think they were the champs. They were still the champs. So who did they go against? I don't remember. No. It was a triple threat match. So then you got the Nick Wayne heel turn. And did we get the return of Cope? Was that when he came back? I don't even remember. A lot of stuff. A lot. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's exactly when he came back. There were so many moments, moment after moment after moment. Absolutely a WrestleMania level show. Loved it. And I was there live for it all. And I got to watch it with my homeboy, EJ. Shout out to you. It's going to be on the show soon. So shout out to everybody. Like, that is I'm sorry. Call me biased. Call me biased. I don't care. I don't care. And that leaves us with the storyline of the year. And we're going to swing it right back around to the Hangman. The redemption of the Hangman. I didn't even know that's where we were going. And then there are things in there that are pulled in that I don't know if they happen. That definitely did happen this year. There are things in there that factor in to the redemption of the Hangman that you don't think necessarily factor into the redemption of the Hangman. People talking about the MJF Jeff Jarrett thing kind of happening and then not really happening, and everybody's like, well, why is that happening? Because of Jeff Jarrett, because Jeff Jarrett gets so much hate for some reason in the wrestling community. And if you really connect it and go back to when that was happening, it connects to the redemption of the Hangman story. So to go from that time to and it like it as it was happening, it's almost like, wait, are we doing the redemption? Because the fans were still cheering, right? So what else were you gonna do? You couldn't keep them heel. So when we got to Double or Nothing, even though we were doing the redemption, it seemed like we were doing the redemption. But it was like, I don't know if that's where we're going just yet. I think Ospreay for a lot of people was like the hands-on favorite. I know I thought my money was definitely on Hangman for the win. I mean, no, Osprey for the win. So when Hangman pulls it out, it's like, oh, okay. Didn't know that's what we were doing, but that's what we're doing. And for it to culminate the way that it did, in the match that it did, that tied up so many loose ends, Darby returns, Bryan Danielson returns, Swerve finally makes a decision to help Hangman after everything they've been through. It was, yeah, like the Bucks, like it was what people talked about beforehand was the Avengers Endgame moment where everybody that's been involved comes in and there's just this there's bedlam. Essentially, that's what that was. Maybe not in the ways that a lot of people try to fantasy book it, but it absolutely was that, and it absolutely worked, and it was violent. But let me tell you again, my first Mania was WrestleMania 25. I witnessed Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker live. The what I think is, if not the one of the greatest matches ever, definitely one of the greatest in WrestleMania history. I witnessed it live. I also got to witness. Uh, well, 32 didn't have any of that actually. 32, my next one. 32 didn't have anything super notable. 34, AJ Styles Nakamura. Nobody cared about that because it wasn't a great match. There was nothing really memorable at 34 either, except But I've been in the building for those moments, and there have been a few others. When Moxley tapped out, because here's what you have an entire arena of people very tired of the Death Rider run of Mox's champ. This feels like the moment. And there's a twofold thing. There's the story itself, and then there's like, just do the right thing, Tony, because you hadn't really done the right thing all year. Because a lot of people were like, well, we're not going to put it on Cope. But why are we even having that match? We're not going to put it on. You could put it on Swerve. That would be a good one. Yeah, put it on Swerve. So there were people all throughout the year where you felt like he could have lost, but they didn't do it. And now there's Hangman. They were like, Tony, just do the right thing. And wouldn't you know it, Moxley taps, Tony did the right thing. This arena, this stadium erupts. Erupts. I literally, and I'm not making this up, literally saw children running through the stands. Running. It's a baseball arena. They're just running. It's open space. I don't think the biggest pop I've ever heard was the Acclaimed coming out at All Out in 2022. The only reason this probably wasn't as loud is because it was in a stadium and the sound did something different. Because if it was more enclosed and like an arena, I can guarantee you it probably would have been even louder. Insanity. Insanity. That match was 100% um, just that the entire show from start to end was one of the most memorable nights I've had in 2025. And again, absolutely my show of the year. There's no question. Um, WrestleMania was essentially a dud. SummerSlam wasn't much better. You had a couple of moments that ended the show. Evolution was a good show, all things considered, um, but pales in comparison to me. And again, I think Double or Nothing was a good show as well. Pales in comparison, hands down, my show of the year. And those are my awards, my best of for 2025. And now that's being said, let me take these off so you all can see me in my fullness. It was creepy. Was that creepy? It feels like it was creepy. I put these like through a lens, so you have to. No, that doesn't work. All right, get that out the way. Kind of hurt my ear. So that is 2025, and we're going to cap off 2025 tonight with World's End. I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't know how this is going to work for me because I have an event to go to this afternoon, but it should be over in time for me to get back home in front of my TV so I can watch World's End. Um, the big sale point, there are two sale points, two big sale points to this night, which are the Continental Classic semifinals and the main event, the world title match. Um, and the way this worked out is exactly how I figured it would kind of work out, to at least on one end of it, but also not necessarily because they did some weird stuff there. But first of all, we got to talk Continental Classic. It's amazing every year. This year may have been one of the best. Just from the sheer space of having of course you had Okada, Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Moxley, Speedball, Kevin Knight, Pac, Jack Perry, Mascara Dorada, Claudio, like Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong. The field itself was a best bout factory. You could pick any of these matches. There were no duds, I think. No duds in this entire tournament. Absolutely not. I'm amazed. I'm actually amazed. I am actually amazed. um, so for our semifinals, they're doing this weird thing that they did last year that I also was like, that's a strange way to do this. But the thing they did before, or they did last year, and they're doing it again, is the leader of the blue league faces the runner-up in the gold league. And the leader of the gold league faces the runner-up in the blue league. And then the winner of those two matches face each other in the finals. I don't even know what the point of that is. I guess other than to get us to catch the Okada and to have two matches and get us to catch the Okada in the I don't know, but I'll get to that as we get to. But the C2 was amazing. The entire tournament was amazing. If you ever need a reason to wonder why you like AEW, that's reason enough. Because there's a tournament. Oh, they just put matches together and they don't have any story. You people, you AEW hating motherfuckers are the worst. You're the worst. But anyway, and then of course we have the main event with Joe, Swerve, Hangman, and MJF. 4-way for the uh world championship. They as a triple threat was intriguing enough. The introduction of MJF makes this very volatile and completely changed my pick. But we're going to start from the beginning. It's prediction time, ladies and gentlemen. So apparently, first of all, we're not doing a tailgate brawl this time. I'm assuming that with everything with like Christmas and scheduling and all of that, they're deciding not to do that this time. Instead, we're doing a 0 hour again. We haven't done that in a while. Actually, I think they still do 0 hours on YouTube, and then the tailgate brawls are on TNT or TBS, one of the two. So, so there's that. So for the 0 hour, I'm assuming there's only one, maybe two matches, because I'm pretty sure this match definitely has to be on there. Because why would it be on the main card? we have the Sisters of Sin versus Hyon, Hyon, and Maya World. That's the Sisters of Sin win. But here's a story here. A few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, there was the whole controversy, maybe a month or two, maybe. There was a whole controversy about what are their names? What are their names? I'm gonna find it because Nixon, Newell, and Miranda Alizé. For those that don't know, that's Tegan Knox and her girlfriend Miranda Alizé. And the story was a few weeks ago, or a month or so ago, that they were scheduled to face like Tajay in a match on Collision. The match was on to like 3 minutes. They were like, "Oh, we want more time." They couldn't get more time because the show was already mapped out, and they said, "Well, that's okay. We're just gonna leave." And they left. They hadn't been back yet. In the place of them was Hyon and Maya World. Worked that match, and since then have been on TV more and more and more. On Collision, they actually got an entrance. And now they have a match in the pre-show on World's End. And I just can't help but feel two things. That this is A, Tony being petty and saying, like, it's a weird way to ascend. Because I think there could be a bit of this that's Tony being petty. Like, it could have been you. Because ultimately, that's what this is. It could have been you if you just, and even if you played ball. Because the request wasn't nothing crazy. Like, for whatever reason, you felt like the match should be long. Well, sure. But sometimes you got to do this to get there. I don't know if Hyon and Maya World would have had the same trajectory had this not come up. But here we are. And now all you can do is look at it and say, oh, well, maybe I should have played ball. I get it. Stand up for your, morals and whatever. But sometimes you don't know when you're blocking your own blessing. I think that's what happened. Now again, it could be Tony being petty and like we're gonna elevate them to show that this could have been them. It could be that. I know that could be it because I would do that. Because I would be that petty. Absolutely. So don't know if it's a PC thing to say. You know what? We'll come back in a minute. So it's the Sisters of Sin win, but we're definitely, and then in the midst of AEW forming a tag team division and you are a tag team, why would you not just play ball until you're where you're trying to go? I don't understand. Anywho, we also have Eddie Kingston versus Zach Gibson, and that has to be a pre-show match because I don't know why that would even be on the main card. It didn't say that on Wikipedia. It doesn't list it as a pre-show match, but it's definitely a pre-show match. So it's Eddie Kingston win, of course. Eddie's gonna stack up these wins, and we'll go from there. And then we get to the main card, and this one's gonna be long too because it's another 8-match card, and they're all gonna be long. They're all gonna be long. Just announced on Collision is a Mixed Nuts Mayhem, which it seems like it's going to be another one of those. It probably won't be as bloody and violent because it doesn't have the right people for that. But it's going to be, maybe. So we got the Death Riders, Claudio, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, and Miranda Shafir taking on Roddy Strong, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Timeless Tony Storm. Mixed Nuts Mayhem, I'm sure it's going to be like a no DQ kind of brawl kind of thing. Mixed tag. Yeah, that was Um, because of which Death Riders it is, I will give this to the conglomeration and Timeless Tony Storm. It's Tony Storm. So definitely gonna give them that. Um, Here's where it starts to get tricky for me when we talk about this Continental Classic stuff. So the semifinals are Okada versus Takeshita, which that doesn't even make sense. Which should have been the final. Not even sure why it's not the final. We have been building to that match outside of the tournament. And maybe this is like the first match that'll lead us into like the actual whatever match. Uh I'm gonna make a bold pick because I don't know where we're going. But I don't know, but maybe I do. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Okay. So, and it's gonna be stupid, but we're gonna get there. So you got Okada and Takeshita in the first semifinal, Kyle Fletcher and John Moxley in the second semifinal. The fact that Moxley's here, even though he lost a lot, but we still got there. So okay, cool. Um, and the winner of those two matches face each other, and the winner becomes the Continental Champion. I going back a couple weeks, I've always said I think it's retarded. I think it's stupid that we separated these titles for this tournament instead of just doing the thing. But I think I can make sense of where we may go if we do this. So I'm going to say Takeshita beats Okada. Yeah. I think Takeshita beats Okada. And as I'm looking at this on Wikipedia, it explains what's going to happen in that match if that were to happen. Where it says if Okada loses, he will lose both the AEW Continental Championship and AEW Unified Championship, immediately vacating the Unified Championship and guaranteeing a new Continental Champion in the final. So essentially, if Okada loses this match, he loses essentially two titles because he will lose the Continental Championship. And because he doesn't have the Continental Championship, then he can't be the Unified Championship because there's no Unified Championship. He will still be the international champion. That's going to be important. Now, in the other semifinal, I actually don't know if it really matters. But I do think Kyle Fletcher beats Mox. First of all, let's just point out that the two main heel factions in AEW are completely in the finals of this tournament. They were all over it. Actually, statistically, there was almost no way that they could not be, because you had Okada, Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, John Moxley, Pac, Claudio. So you had like of the 10 people that were in it, six of them were six of them were in one of the two main heel factions. So yeah. So of the 10, no, of the 12, half of them were uh half of them were in one of those two factions. So very interesting. And yeah. So I think the three things we're looking at, Mox isn't going to factor in because Mox has some other stuff going on. But I think we look at Takeshita beating Okada, Kyle Fletcher beating Moxley, and Takeshita beating Fletcher in the final. and Takeshita will win the Continental Championship. In the event that he loses at Wrestle Kingdom, where he'll face, no, let me lie. Make sure I get that right. Is this right? Yep. This one, let's see. Yeah, that's right. He'll be taking on Suji for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Interesting. Then so say Takeshita loses, Suji is now the champion. I don't know where Suji. I'm not up enough on New Japan to know how that should turn out. But let's say Takeshita loses there, still has the Continental Championship. Okada still has the International Championship. We can reunify at Revolution. And I think that would be pretty big. And that would give us another reason to get back to the match, besides the fact that they don't like each other. That and then Takeshita wins that one as well. That's my picks there. So I had to work the math. Sorry, I had to work the math. So Takeshita beats Okada in the semifinal. Kyle Fletcher beats Moxley in the semifinal. Takeshita goes home with the gold. All right. And then to take it a step further, and then we do the reunification at Revolution between Okada, Takeshita, Part 2. All right. Moving on. That was a lot. Darby Allin versus Gabe Kidd. I'm going to give that to Darby because Darby needs to get back on the good foot. Last couple of times we've seen him, he has not had the best outcomes. So I think that'll be a good look for him. He lost to Pac at Full Gear, lost to Kevin Knight on the following Dynamite, and then been out of action since then. He got pulled out of the C2, and Gabe Kids attacked him a couple of times. So Darby needs to get back on the good foot. I see Darby pulling this one out. Next up, we have a Chicago street fight for the AEW World Tag Team Championships with FTR versus the Bang Bang Gang. I don't even have to think about this 2 times. FTR for the win. Did something interesting happen at the end, though? Perhaps Colt makes his return. Colt and Christian maybe make their return. Even if they make their return, they won't do it to cost them the tag team titles. FTR will win again. This time there will be no shenanigans, and no shenanigans again. Okay. I won't even say clean as a sheep. They're just going to beat their ass. And that's going to be it. Next up for the women's tag team championships, we have Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Moné and Athena. So let me go back to my awards for a minute. Because there are 2 things that I didn't do that I meant to do. If there were a most improved for 2025, 100% hands down, I am giving that. This isn't the Breakthrough Award. Who has started the year and gotten progressively better? Harley Cameron. Absolutely. Starting the year where she started the year, facing Mercedes at Grand Slam for the TBS Championship, to ending the year pretty much as one half of the first women's world tag team champion. Listen, no one can ever take away from you being the first. Remember that. So Harley has come a very long way. She's 100% the most improved. I would say probably the top comedy wrestler, even though she's not all comedy. but she is very hilarious. Like she's hilarious, and then she gets it done in the ring as well. The Mercedes Monet puppet Monet has been hilarious. The fact that and she can do everything. She can sing. She can play instruments. She can. She's a ventriloquist. Like, and then she can wrestle. She can literally do anything. Harley is actually like it's not just comedic with her. Like there's a range of talents that she has. So absolutely would give her that. And also, I can't even do an award for this, but I just feel like I need to say this. Honorable mention to the tops that Willow has been wearing on Collision when she's not wrestling because they're a blessing to us all. And I won't even post pictures and I won't even get into why. But if you know, you know. Thank you, Willow, for the shirts that you have chosen to wear on Collision. You're you're the best. You're the breath best. You're the you're the you're the breath. Whatever. Um, However, getting back to the match, they just won those titles, and I don't see them losing them that fast, especially considering that Mercedes Monet is on her slide and descent. In the tournament, Athena took the pin. I think we see Mercedes get pinned again tonight because it's happened twice, three times actually, four times this year, three times in like the last 2 months. So yeah, in the last month or two, she lost to Stat, she lost to Red Velvet, she lost to Windsor. She's going to lose here, and she got pinned all four of those times. So this will, well, all three of those times. This will be the fourth, and she's going to be on a. So here's another thing too. So she's lost two belts. So here's the thing: losing the Rev Pro, she lost two. So she's actually lost four belts in the last um, month. Well, no, she's lost three in the last month. The ROH Women's, the Rev Pro, which lost the other. So she lost three of those, however many she had. She can't lose the Owen title. However, when the Owen happens, she probably won't carry that belt anymore. So she just loses. So she kind of loses that one automatically. And then all the other indie ones, it will get down to her having the TBS title, and that's it. She may hold that for a while until she ultimately loses that one. I don't know when this happens, but I could see Mercedes. I could see Mercedes in the Owen and losing in the Owen, and then not being able to carry that title no more. Maybe that's how we get there. Um, I I kind of think Mercedes wins the women's world title by the end of 26. But again, she has to lose everything else first. So saying all that to say, I'm giving this to Babes of Red. Like I said, they just won those titles. I highly doubt they're going to lose them. And Mercedes is on the slide, so Mercedes probably going to take the pin here. So that one's fairly easy, actually, as well. Next up, we have for the Women's World Championship, Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander. That is a Statlander win. Um, a good one for Jamie. Stat now has to like go back and beat all the people who have beaten her because that's everybody's sticking point. Well, I beat you before. She's like, well, I'm not the same Stat, so you're not going to do me like you did before. Um, so this is going to be another win for Stat to solidify her as in her championship reign. Pull stuff out of my head. So, that one's a kind of a no-brainer. And then we get to our main event. This actually, I went through this kind of fast because I think the real math is in the Continental Classic stuff, and the rest of it's kind of easy. We have Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page, and MJF for the AEW World Championship. This is MJF's Casino Gauntlet, which I mentioned he won back at All In. He's finally cashing in his contract. Prior to a couple of weeks ago, when he returned, I would have given that to probably Joe. Because I didn't think we were going back to Swerve, and I didn't think we were going to back to Hangman just yet. That Joe probably hold it for a little while longer. The introduction of MJF and his motivations for trying to be in this match and how everything has played out since make me believe MJF is walking out of World's End with the World Championship. MJF is my pick. It makes the most sense. To the point of the same place that Joe beat MJF for the title, MJF, whether he beats Joe or not, MJF will walk out of World End, ending Samoa Joe's reign. Poetic justice makes a lot of sense. Also, points to the next chapter in the Hangman and MJF saga, because that story wasn't necessarily over, per se. Hangman beat him twice in 25. This would be MJF's comeuppance. Then we can kind of move towards an MJF Swerve thing if we want to do that, which I think would be really good. We kind of teased that a couple years ago. So we are absolutely on a very interesting trajectory for 2026, but I think MJF comes out of World's End the world champion, and those are my picks. There's a note here. Again, this thing is stupid. The Unified Championship is only active when a wrestler simultaneously holds the Continental and International Championships. That's dumb. That's dumb. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I think we're ununifying to reunify. So if I have not heard this take anywhere, I haven't heard anybody's predictions, but I think that is what we're going to do. I think we're going to have to catch the win here. So Okada, again, for the first time, does not win the Continental Championship. Finally loses for the first time since he's arrived. Still has a championship, though. And in the rematch between them, it'll be title for title, a.k.a. for the Unified Championship. And then Takeshita will win that. And then hopefully just get rid of it. But whatever. Unified Championship, man. I like the Unified Championship. I think that should just be the thing, because having those two titles makes no sense. And having those two titles equal one title, but not getting rid of the other titles is just what is happening here. I digress. Those are my picks, and I will definitely be back to review the show, and I feel I should wrote these picks down. Though they won't be hard. I'm pretty sure I'll go over. I know who, makes sense here. Those are my picks for 2020 for World's End, and I am looking forward to the show. I think it'll be another great show. It's probably still gonna be very long. So we'll go with that. After that, so we got that out of the way. So we got our awards out of the way. We got our predictions out of the way. But let's talk about 2026 really quick before I get out of here. Again, finally got on the journey this year. Decided I was going to start this podcast. It went through a lot of different ideas before we finally got here. But finally, I said, you know what? Nothing to it but to do it. I'm worried about a co-star. I'm worried about a co-host. I'm worried about, what I'm going to do, where my fan base will be, who will listen, who will check me out. And finally, it just turned into, you know what? Just go do it. You figure it out as you go along, but you never know until you start. So that's what I did. I started. And here we are. 20 episodes in, heading into 2026, feeling good about things. We're upgrading daily. I'm going to change the way all this stuff behind me looks really soon, because I got some things I need to add. I got some things I need to move. The way I thought it was going to look is not exactly how it is looking. And some of the things I wanted to display aren't necessarily being displayed. So I'm going to change some stuff around in 2026 very soon. So you'll be seeing that. I'm adding stuff every day. And I don't know if you can see this here in the corner that I got this new desk um, desk arm, and I'm probably gonna have to play with this because now I think I see another way that I can put it. So figuring that part out. This may not be in the way, but I can use it how I want to use it. So I got that. I got a new mic clip. I'm still getting stuff. Um, I do intend to host different people that I know, do interviews, maybe have a rotating co-host gift type thing. Uh, Eventually, I want to be able to go live here. So I had to set some goals for what I want to do in 2026. Something that I've spoken with about with my therapist, and I don't make resolutions, because I think like resolutions are kind of things that you look at and say, well, 2026, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. But it's like, but you could start now. Why make it a resolution when you could just go ahead and start? And when you make it a resolution, it's much easier to, um, it's much easier to just stop doing it after a month or two, right? Um, but when you set a goal with a tangible thing that you're trying to achieve, as opposed to just saying like it's a resolution to start doing something or do something different or stop doing something. But if you give yourself a goal, it gives you a um, like a tangible thing to work towards, right? So 2025, I set a goal to sell 100 copies, or to ultimately sell, not 100 in the year, but to hit 100 sales on my album that I released in 2024. So I released it October 26, 2024, and I said by October 26, 2025, I would like to have sold 100 copies. I don't think I may have hit 40. I would have to go back and look. Didn't get close to 100. Haven't sold a copy since the summer, maybe. Um, and I was at a performance that I did. So I did not hit that goal, but also my I had some things happen there that kind of shifted my focus a little bit and really changed my trajectory, because rather than focusing on like that album or even any of my musical endeavors, even though it's still kind of a part of things, um, I still will be doing here on the Black Fitness Network here and there, still connected to music. But getting this podcast out really became the new focus. I kind of switched gears. And as such, I have a new set of um, goals that I would like to achieve for 2026. And then some of these I'm working out as we go. Some of them may have to change. Some of them I haven't really given a lot of thought. But as it stands, I want to do that. So one of the main things I want to do for 2026 is I want to increase my subscribers. They're free right now. I don't think I'll do paid subscriptions, and if I, at least not for a while, until it makes sense. But right now, it's just about spreading the word, getting everything out there. What I want to do is have at least, let's say 50 solid people that are following the uh, Black Fitness Network here on Substack. That's strictly a Substack number because I don't have it already. Um, so I would absolutely love to have 50 followers or subscribers here on the Black Fitness Network on Substack. I don't know how to quantify Spotify necessarily, as to how many people, because I don't know if it'll tell me because I can't really look that kind of stuff up necessarily right now. But I would love to have um, a similar uh, subscriber count, follower count, listener count on Spotify, and also on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/at Black Phoenix Brand. Right now, I have 93 subscribers, and that is from my music days all the way up to now, moving into the podcast space. Um, so far, like I said, 93. I'm not sure how many of these may have come from the which came from which. I recall a few years ago trying to get up to 100 subscribers on on the Black Phoenix Brand YouTube page, and only got up to 93. This year, not only do I want to hit 100, I'm going to take that number up a little bit to match what I'm already doing on Substack. Because the Substack I said I wanted to hit 50, I think I'm already at 20 something, or just 20, 19 or 20. So 30 other people by the end of 2026, I think is very doable. Should be a lot more than that. Because I definitely want, another goal is to increase the visibility, who sees it, you know, get more ears, get more eyes on the brand. One thing that I should have done, this is a complete aside, one thing that I should have done and I didn't think about until it was too late. When I went to Dynamite in Nashville, especially with that crowd, because it was obviously an AEW show, and I was sitting next to a guy who was absolutely, tapped into like New Japan and wrestling and all that kind of stuff. Because my seats were so close. I absolutely should have um, had cards or flyers that I could have passed out in that crowd. Absolutely would have made sense. Don't know why I didn't do it. NXT is going to that same building next month, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really debating about going to that, and if I do, I will fix that. Have flyers or cards that I'll be able to hand out to people for them to check out the podcast. And there's that. Even though I don't cover NXT that much, but wrestling is a wrestling fan, right? If you're going on an NXT show, you're very AEW adjacent, not so much WWE adjacent. That crowd will be a little more mixed because Raw's coming to town in February that I don't intend to go to. And that's probably going to be a very kind of mainstream WWE type crowd. They may not listen to wrestling podcasts like that. And again, I don't cover WWE, at least especially not all that positively. So they probably won't. But who knows? Who knows? But I got to do what I got to do, right? So increasing the visibility is another one of the goals, but I hadn't quantified that yet. 50 subscribers for Substack. Let's go 125. I'm at 93. Let's go 125 for the YouTube page. All right. So that'll mean I need 20. No. 32. Yeah. I would need 32 more subscribers on YouTube as well. So that's 30 on YouTube. No, 32 on YouTube, 30 on Substack. I think that's a very modest number that I could absolutely hit by the end of 2026. Also goes for the year, again, is to be able to invite people onto the show, collaborate with other creators in the space, you know, get some interviews done with some other wrestlers. I plan to really integrate myself with Not On One Wrestling this year. So if you're watching and you're with Not On One Wrestling, reach out to me or I'll reach out to you. Really want to integrate myself there, attend some of these shows, get onto the live event scene, and just kind of create from there and see where we go. So the main thing is getting these followers up and getting these views. I think the views will increase as the subscriber number increases. So that's the thing that I want to follow with is spreading out this brand, increasing the visibility, getting more subscribers, an extra 30 by the end of the year on Substack, an extra 32 by the end of the year on YouTube. Uh, and again, just increasing the visibility, letting everybody know about the Talmbout Rasslin brand. So, all that being said, we get into that time frame. So again, this is episode 20. We're 20 episodes in. This is the last episode of 2025. Thank you all so much for being on this journey with me. This episode will not be up by noon as I typically like to do, but that's okay. It will be up before World's End, hopefully. And if it's not, it's fine. Still relevant. Always still relevant. Then you'll just see, just know I did this before World End. That's all that matters. So, with all that being said, thank you again for being on this journey with me so far for all of 2025 and for an amazing year to come in 2026. Enjoy World's End tonight. Be safe for the new year. Whatever it is that you plan on doing, whether you plan on going out somewhere, whether you plan on staying in the house, watch some wrestling somewhere because Dynamite will be on. Watch some wrestling. They should do a New Year's Eve show. That's neither here nor there. Watch some wrestling, and we'll come back next week and we're going to talk about some wrestling. All right? So, for myself, for the entire staff here at Black Fitness Network, which is still just myself right now, for everybody involved and for everybody that I love and everybody that you love, Happy New Year. Thank you. And until next time, we are. Wait. No. I'm going to do this. I got to do it right. To bring it back. There we go. Now, as I said, until next time, Happy New Year, and we are